This is Laura of Mafka, aka Broken Azron, back at you with another video. And in today's video topic, I want to talk about my dark past dating experience. Yasmine. Yasmine was a girl that I met during my college days a few years back, and this was one of the experiences that I would never forget, even though it was online. This was something that would really stay and stick out to me. One of the things in dating that I would carry on for the rest of my life. And this is something that I'm still trying to mentally recover from. The damage that she really did to my character and the way she would just make sure that I was miserable before I would go to college and make my day bad. And before all of this happened with her, before everything went wrong, everything was just so good with her. I could sit down and have a talk with her. She seemed so understanding about life. She seemed so caring and just a very chill girl to be around. You would think that this is the type of woman that a man would love to have a real interest in dating in real life. And I met her online while I was playing a Call of Duty game. And I remember I had four guys in the group I was in that were obviously tryhards, right? And they used to really go off in the lobby. We would win, mostly some games, and then start losing the rest. But they would start just going off, and I would go off a bit too with them in the lobbies, just doing the 360 scope and just really hiding, flanking behind the corner. So yeah, I remember there was a match to where they put us on the same team, with the girl Yasmin I'm going to be talking about. And we really started hitting it off. We were working together. Everyone was being toxic, but everyone managed to get the game win, and everyone did pretty well. And I remember after that game, I invited her to the party because she was actually playing by herself in that match. So I invited her to the party, and you know, everything goes well. Everyone's, chilling, playing the game. There's some toxic comments here and there, but everyone's joking and having a good time, right? So by the time when everyone gets done playing, I decided to, to stay on with her and play more games with her. So I tell my friends I'm gonna leave the party and stay on, that I'll catch them on the next day after. And I remember I invited her to the party, and we were just playing with just us in the party, and that's when we really started to talk and get to know each other. Because funny thing is, she actually was going to college to be a lawyer soon. Crazy thing. So when I look back into how nice she was, how very communicative she was, it really still sometimes gets under my skin to how she changed. And this is something that I want men to pay attention to who listen to this story. Dark femininity does not come in the form always of a woman being aggressive to you, being disrespectful to you, gaslighting you. Dark femininity can come in the form of a woman being nice to you, a woman just being very caring, affectionate towards you, and making you feel like you're the most precious guy in the world to her. So we started really hitting it off, getting to know each other, and she even complimented me and said, "Oh, I like your voice. It sounds deep." And I'm like, "All right, that's cool, thanks." And I like how you sound too. So we started really just complimenting each other, and I look back on just complimenting her because she had a picture of herself up, because she was a Korean girl. She actually was from South Korea, and she had came to America a few years back. So by this point she was fully, westernized, as they say, guys. But yeah, either way, she came off as a very chill girl who was communicative with me. I felt like I could talk to her about anything. And the first month of us talking and getting to know each other, it was pretty good. And I remember when I would get out of my college classes, and I would be so excited to go back home and talk to her online. We actually started FaceTiming each other while we were playing the game, and I remember we would stay up to like a max of like, mostly 3 hours just talking and, playing the game, getting to know each other, joking around, talking about our different cultures, and really just getting to know each other more. So the first month, it was really well. It all seemed like a dream in a way that was kind of coming true in a way. But, on the second month, things are still about all right, but I start to notice that she starts to get a bit more, you know, flaky and colder. She's not as available as she used to be to me. And this is something that a lot of men have to watch out for who call themselves still trying to date and emotionally invest in women. Just in general, I don't understand why a guy would want to date in 2025, but just for the men who call themselves still trying to date, you really have to be careful of investing into a woman emotionally, getting too into her, because this is the trap that a lot of modern men play into. Once she gets you to go away from your authentic self and change who you are to just please her, this is when she wins the game. This is when she has you in her trap. So that was starting to happen to me, to where I felt like I had to change myself in order for her to talk to me more. And I remember making little tweaks to my personality to come off as a bit more likable to her when she started being more flaky, telling me, "Oh, I'm busy today, let's play tomorrow." Because sometimes she would do 2 days without talking to me, and then, she would text me out of nowhere, be like, "Oh, get on now." And yeah, she started becoming a little more flaky, but things would go all right and fine. We would have a normal conversation, and things seemed like they were still somewhat going well to us being attracted to each other, building a relationship from what I used to think was actually possible, when in reality, you can't build a relationship. The woman is either giving you her all in the short term of you meeting her, or she doesn't want you at all. Everything else, talking phases, building rapport with her a lot, that is a game that is meant for the woman to win in dating. So it gets on to the third month after that, and I remember she starts cracking a lot of dark humor jokes. And I like dark humor jokes. Any other person who's not so sensitive, it's like it's whatever to me. A little dark humor is cool then and there. But she would start saying dark humor jokes like, "Oh, I wish how we're fighting these people on these game. I wish it was real life for us to just be at war with people and, so to speak, delete, others, keeping it censored for YouTube." And I would be like, "Wow, are you really serious about that? Wanting this to be real? Do you know how just crazy in real life that would be?" And she would be like, "Oh no, I'm just joking. I'm a little mad today about my class not going so well today in college." And that's why I always tell you guys, whenever a chick says she's joking, she is not joking. And that red flag right there she revealed to me should have revealed something to me to just get back from her a bit emotionally and not invest. But I was too caught up in the sense of romance that I thought was being built, but turned out to be a freaking storm that tumbled down on me and tortured my being in every way, man, to where it's just freaking, it's just a nightmare. So when she's cracking these dark humor jokes, I would kind of laugh along with it, laugh it off, and that's what I was taught to do at a young age. And most of you guys were taught to just laugh off these inappropriate jokes that, some girls will say, or just people in general, and keep it moving. But one day she texts me, and I told her I wouldn't be able to get on today because I was dealing with classes, and this was during the time to when my mother's health was getting bad. She was starting to have issues, with her legs and stuff. And I told her I couldn't get on that day, and she started telling me about some, "Come on, don't be a lazy little bee. Get on. You're being a coward." And I'd be like, "Hey, LOL, I can't get on right now." And, she would get kind of mad and said, "Okay, if you ask to play tomorrow, I won't be available either." And I'm like, really? I told you I have to do something today. And it was just a big mind game for her to get me into that manipulative state to where she can really play with me and make me into like her little tool she can have fun with mentally and emotionally. And these are the scary things about dating. The subtle hint of manipulation about, oh, since you can't get on today, I won't be available tomorrow either. I'll be busy. This is a manipulation a manipulation strategy. I'm stuttering from talking about this because it's like it still bothers me till this day to how naive I was about this situation. And a girl who really likes you is never going to pressure you into doing something that you don't want to do that day. She's going to respect your boundaries and let you handle whatever you need to handle that day. So I was just so unaware of how real and authentic dating was. I allowed this girl to walk over me in a sense to where I would have to kowtow toward her demands of getting on, talking to her, even FaceTiming her sometimes when, I was doing a college course or talking to family. I would have to just kowtow to her demands because I would think she's not going to talk to me anymore. And this is where I'm talking about the part of me changing and not being my real, genuine, authentic self. And this is the trap that dating puts men into in today's world, to where you become where you're not who you're supposed to be. So I remember just kind of kowtowing and bowing down to her commands, and the third month is almost done to where we're talking, and she starts making her jokes a little more brutal and dark towards me, talking about some, oh, you know let's just say you're never gonna have happiness, like you're garbage at this game and you're garbage at life. And she would say this whenever we would lose a game on Call of Duty, whenever we would get on other games, even on Fortnite, to when I used to freaking play that, or just GTA because we played that as well. This very game I'm on. But yeah, irony, dude. So I would laugh it off and then kind of laugh back at her and say, "You don't sound too happy about losing this game. You sound like a crybaby." And that would just make the insults even worse to what she would say to me, to try and be like, "Hi, I got the last laugh on you." And I can remember, in a way, I was just laughing it off, but I was losing parts of my self esteem and really questioning if I was worth anything in a romantic sense. And this is what talking to the wrong type of girl can do to you nowadays. If you think dealing with women just who reject you and don't want to talk to you is something, you have women out here who will scan and target you and see that you're vulnerable, wanting some type of emotional connection with a female, and they will prey on that and make you into that little plaything emotionally that they abuse and punish. And this was becoming the case for me because whenever she would crack, like these dark jokes, like some of them I can't even say on YouTube, it seems like she would be happy. And this is what I'm going to talk about in the book as well. A woman can get aroused from punishing you, believe it or not, as a man. Why do you think they like rejecting men? Why do you think they like to insult your masculinity? Because this is how they're getting aroused, believe it or not. This is dark femininity 101. So it seems like she would really get a really big joy of telling me things to really lower my self esteem and make me unhappy. And I remember, on the fourth month, it gets even more abusive to where we start having these little philosophical debates about life. What's morally important? What's right? And we would talk about history and such, that has to do with, just a lot of events that happened during world wars, the Great Depression, etc., racial disputes. And she would say some very dark things, like she was happy about these things happening. And this is when I started to really get real red flags from her and started to somewhat move back from her emotionally. But then whenever I would move back from her emotionally, she would pull me back in and say, good things like, I actually think you're a cool guy. the things that I say, they're just joking. I find you to be a really handsome guy. And this is the things that these girls are going to do to you whenever they want to put you back in that space to where they see that you're starting to kind of break out of that. They're going to go back to love bombing you in a sense, complimenting you. And it was a very just vile and bleak situation I found myself in. And I can remember, down by the time that, the fourth month of me talking to her was about to end. This is when she started to really make her text to me whenever I would tell her, I was busy, I can't really get on today. This is when the real abuse started. She started to really tell me dark things like, oh, your mother is going to die because of you. Because I told her about my mother's health problems. And, my dad also was on the verge of, quitting his job because of how it was. And she would tell me things like that. Oh, your mother's going to pass away because of you. And these were the things that I was starting to see. This girl is not right. And she does not care about me whatsoever. But she would do her best to really reel me back in with those confidence. And one day when I had enough of the BDSM, abuse verbal wise from her, she said a dark, just humor thing to me that I will never forget about, the racial things that have to do with, the blacks, whites, etc., or just blacks in general. And she told me something to where it sounded nice at first, to where she said, I'm sorry that happened to black people being segregated, having their land took, etc. And she said she wished it never happened to them. And this was during the time to where, we were arguing, fighting more when I would get out my college classes, and talking to her felt like a chore. And I remember she said she wished these things never happened to black people. And I was like, wow, that's really sweet for you to say after all of this. And she said, yeah, I wish they had stayed in Africa and the lands they were, so I could watch them starve to where they don't exist anymore. And I remember then and there, I was just done talking to her at that point internally. And I was like, how could you even say something like that? That is just so dark and sinister. And she would just laugh so much about this, like to where she was happy. And then I remember on the second day after she said that joke, within 2 days, this is when I blocked her. On the second day after she said that joke, the first day it went by, she starts degrading my appearance. And then she even threatened to message my friends that I would play games with in my tryhard crew back then, and start saying, oh, I'm going to message them and tell them how weak you are emotionally, and tell them how you don't have anyone in your life to listen to you. I'm the only girl around you that'll tolerate you. You're useless and pathetic. And this was a cycle of women that I was finding myself unknowingly attracted to. And this is why I tell you, men, if you've been through lots of cycles of abuse and trauma in your childhood, let's say, for example, with a mother figure, heck, even your dad, or just anyone in your family in general, or just people in general, abuse as a child, you're going to find this leaking into your dating life to where unknowingly you're going to be attracted to those traits. And it's strange how that works. But even when you look at human psychology, there's a resonance, there's a reason for that, because you're attracted to the default demeanor that certain people have, who have those same toxic traits that your mother or father or people may have had in your life. So when she starts threatening to message my friends, and she actually does message one of them and say, oh, you want to know what his weakness is? He can't handle confrontation. He's too scared. He's a coward. And they were telling me, dude, you need to stop talking to her. And I'm like, man, I'm going to quit talking to this girl. She's really insane, and I have to get rid of talking to her. So I remember the day she did that, the one final day of talking to her, is when she really let me have it, when I told her I wasn't talking to her anymore because of how she was treating me, and abusing me verbally, making me feel down about my appearance, telling me how my hair is trash. telling me that my body isn't athletic enough. I need to exercise, get in the gym at least because that's what black people do. Just started being racist, and I would start to insult her back and say things, but that would make the comebacks worse. So I decided and told her I'm not gonna talk to you or entertain you anymore. And I remember that day she told me word for word, if the world ended, she sent me actually a voicemail and said, if the world ended soon, she was going to come to destroy me. And I knew at that point that I had to get rid of this girl because she was becoming toxic and taking me away from the real world and really putting a damper on my life. And this is why I tell these stories, and this was by far one of the most dark experiences I had because that actually affected how the people in the crew I was in for my gaming community saw me, to where they started taking shots, insulting me, trying to tease and bully me a bit and talk about, oh, you let that girl walk over you like a little bee, and you're a can and this and all that. And this is what not knowing how modern dating is as a man can get you. When you go out here with a very light, fluffy sense of love, and you're going by the things that your parents have taught you about being courteous, being respectful to women, and you just become a target for women who don't appreciate those qualities in men, women who are going to take away those things, and you tend to be attracted to the wrong woman always. So this was a very just harmful experience towards my self-esteem, and I really haven't recovered all of that since in believing in dating and modern dating. And in a way, I'm kind of glad that I experienced to be able to tell these stories, so you as men can watch out for when girls are cracking jokes, when they're disrespecting you, making fun of your demeanor, so you can know to quickly detach yourself from them, part from them at will, because this is what can happen to you as well, to where you're left with a low sense of self-esteem. Your group of friends that you used to think were your friends start bullying and teasing you because this girl is messaging them about how weak you are as a man, and she even sent them voice messages of the intimate conversations we would have, and they would just clown me and repeat the voice message in the party like, oh, look at lover boy here, oh, look how he's like, oh, I want to spend time with you and meet you one day, you seem like such a regular cool girl that I like to be with. And they would just use this to tease and make fun of me with, and this is what's developed trust issues in me and have has really just contributed to me becoming a very closed off person in a sense. So this is why I tell this story. Even when I left that group of people that were, kind of toxic in the first place, I learned a lot of lessons of don't have the wrong people around you, and most importantly, don't entertain a woman who is disrespecting you and making you feel less than as a man, because a lot of us as men have a low sense of self-worth, and modern dating has really contributed to destroying the image the modern man has of himself. This is why men have to get back in touch with themselves and work on healing, work on having more, better self-talk to get yourself through this world, because when you have experiences like this can really tear you down as a man. And I know this video is long, but this was a very, passionate and intimate video for me, because this is something that really just paved the way for me to gain the knowledge of modern dating and why I'm able to articulate on these things, because of the very dark experiences I've had. So I hope you guys have learned something from this. I hope you guys are good out there. Like and subscribe if you're new. Tell me what else you guys want me to elaborate on in the comment sections. I'd highly appreciate it. I'll see you guys in the next video. And like I always tell you guys, stay away from the modern woman. Thank you.